This is the Cheda by the Lavradora de Fatoria from the Douro. There you go. The Douro region of Portugal. So Douro, region, valley, also a river.
Absolutely, yeah. The Douro River runs across the sort of top third of Portugal, underneath Vinha Verde, going out towards the harbour town or harbour city. I'm actually not sure if it's a city or a town of Porto, where port comes from. So big steep valley as it follows the river inland. We're talking really steep here actually. If you Google some pictures of the Douro Valley, absolutely beautiful. How they farm on it, like it's mad. Like they can't have like an oxen cart going down and doing the ploughing or a horse and cart. They have to like lower the plough down on a rope and pull it back up. It's so steep and rugged. The river acts as like a cooling mechanism in what is a pretty hot part of the country, so that grapes can grow really well there. And there's a whole blend of different grapes in this one. This has got Malvasia fina, another Portuguese native, Galveiro, I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that right, and the last one is like Syria or something like that, but it's not Shiraz or Syria or anything like that. It's about 10% of that. The thing about Portuguese grapes is we don't know a huge amount about them in the UK, that is, because they've sort of been hidden away by the port industry. And they're really difficult to pronounce. But yeah, it's a white blend, crisp, refreshing, easy drinking, and yeah,
so
pretty
again,
good.
Portuguese Vinho Branco, yeah.
Absolutely,
so
a Vinho Branco, yeah.
So just, again, like you would with your Spain, your Vinho Blanco, it's just white wine, mix of grapes, blends. I mean, it's having, out of context, we've just tried a Vinho Verde before this, a couple of percent lower. Mm-hmm. It's a bit, it's like we've moved up a bit, isn't it? There's a bit more going on. It's not quite as racy as that.
No, the acidity has come down a bit compared to, say, a Vinha Verde because we're into hotter climates for sure. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's not as racy, but hopefully we should be getting more fruity, as we get into warmer parts of Portugal. Yeah. So, yeah, more tropical fruits coming through or more stone fruits and that sort of thing.
So, if, like a lot of people, Portuguese wines is something you're not super, in there with, what would this be like? A mainstream staple.
This is we're nearly in Sauvignon Blanc territory, maybe sort of, Sauvignon, Chardonnay, maybe Pinot Grigio territory, so that sort of middle ground in terms of acidity. Not as super acidic as, say, like a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc or a really cool climate Pinot Grigio, but yeah, it's nice middle of the ground territory. These wines, they're made for drinking with dinner by the Portuguese people. Interestingly, Portugal at the moment is having a real resurgence in what you might call table wine. So for a huge amount of time, all of the grapes in the Douro region were monopolised by big British port brands. You're thinking about, we're going back to the empire here, we're talking Taylors, Graham's, Sandemans. They turn up in Portugal, part of the empire. They want to take wine back, but actually they can't get it back to the UK without it going off. So they fortify it in the barrels and invent port. And they basically monopolised that region. And grape growers had no choice but to grow their grapes for that industry, and then the prices were pushed down. Really not great for the grower. And the government have stepped in recent years. They've subsidised grape growing in the region and basically allowed grape growers to go back to doing what they used to do, which is instead of just making tons and tons of grapes to go into port brands, is actually making grapes how they used to, more slowly, more care, more attention, and for drinking on the table with friends and family and with dinner.
We've seen that kind of subsidy in a few other areas, and what it generally means is, you're getting pretty good value. Places like Sicily, you're getting Portugal, because it's not super well known. You are getting good value for that, aren't you? You're getting proper winemaking.
Yeah, it's a similar story all over Europe. Sicily was monopolised by Madeira winemaking, for cooking and, that sort of mass-produced industry. And they've stepped in and subsidised it and said, no, let's go back to making wine how we used to generations ago, but for drinking with food and for the dinner table for friends and family. And it makes fantastic all-round wines. They're great for parties and gatherings.
So you're saying around the dinner table and dinner wine, what we're eating with this then?
This is, for me, has got seafood written all over it. Any type of fish dishes. Maybe like a fish pasta, linguinis and stuff like that if you're doing that sort of thing at home. But yeah, the acidity's there. It's not too heavy going. It certainly couldn't tackle a white meat or anything like that just yet. But yeah, fantastic addition to a fish supper.
Okay. Well, as long as you're not going to tell me that you can taste seawater in it.
No, we're quite far away from the sea with this one.
Good. Well, look, I'll get Granny's fish pie on the go.
Cheers.